Xbox is done. The Xbox brand no longer exists. Xbox console exclusives look to be like they're going to be no more. And so we kind of need to talk about this because this is going to be very important to show what Xbox has been doing about their strategy, because they haven't been talking to their player base, they haven't been talking to their customers, they haven't been saying anything. Even though one thing that people liked about Phil Spencer was the fact that he was actually out there in interviews, talking to people and doing that sort of thing. So what on earth is going on here? Why is no one from Xbox talking about this? So why is Xbox probably done with console exclusives? And is it possible that they may actually be out of the console race altogether? Well, let's actually look at what I would say is the genesis of this whole deal that we're looking at, and that is the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft. So Xbox was always working independently of Microsoft, kind of doing their own thing in their own space, and they were doing alright for what they were. However, with the amount of money being spent, a whopping $68.7 billion, Microsoft had announced its intent to acquire Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion, and the acquisition was completed on October 13th, 2023, amounting to a total cost of $75.4 billion. And of course, Xbox already had, this is just kind of like franchises and development studios kind of under the Activision umbrella. But what this then led to was something by the name of Project Latitude. For those of you guys that don't know, and this was written by Jez Corden, who also does kind of news but on the Xbox side. The plan to move Xbox games to other platforms is codenamed Latitude internally, and I know that there's a debate and unease at Microsoft about whether or not this is a good idea. More upcoming Microsoft-owned games slated for PlayStation are already being developed. At least for now, they're potentially obvious games you'd most likely expect, and yes, it's true, while Microsoft is a prolific publisher on PlayStation already, it has typically revolved around specific franchises like Minecraft. From what I've heard, Microsoft is pushing for no red line for what games could come to PlayStation, and it all revolves around Satya Nadella and CFO Amy Hood's mandate to increase every department's margins. So, to recap everything that we've just learned, there was a massive acquisition of Activision Blizzard that made Xbox too big. Now we have the CEO and CFO of Microsoft saying every developer, like every department, needs to increase their margins. And so this is one way to increase the margins on the Xbox side by having something like Project Latitude. And just kind of in short, if you haven't figured it out, Project Latitude is pretty much make games available on all platforms. And also the idea of there being no red line is the idea that there is no franchise that can't go into another platform. So the basic idea of, say, something like seeing a Halo on PlayStation, a Gears on PlayStation, a Forza on PlayStation, this is all part of Project Latitude. Now, one very important thing to keep a note of is the debate and unease at Microsoft, because remember, Xbox had really been kind of functioning on its own. Microsoft was not really doing all that much. But now I think Xbox has become too big because of the Activision acquisition, and as a result is now being led down this path that I feel like nobody wants to go down. The only ones that do are the CEO and CFO of Microsoft, because they want to try and increase profit on Microsoft, for Microsoft rather. But now, we find ourselves in an interesting position where Xbox may very well now be moving away from console exclusivity completely, because keeping in mind the newest game that released for Xbox was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It already came out on PC and Xbox, but I personally will be playing it on PlayStation, and I am more than happy to wait as a patient gamer. So with that being said, let's actually talk about what is happening right now, which is a credible insider has claimed that Xbox might be relinquishing permanent console exclusivity going forward. 2024 marked a dramatic change in Xbox's exclusivity strategy as Microsoft began publishing its first-party games on rival platforms, PlayStation and Nintendo, and it seems the company's multi-platform efforts will only deepen as time goes on. So this is pretty much the idea that Pentiment, Sea of Thieves, Grounded, and Hi-Fi Rush did go to other platforms. All of these games did excellent, especially Sea of Thieves and Grounded. No, Grounded did fine. I think it was Sea of Thieves that really did well enough to the point where, you know, they decided, okay, more Xbox games are coming to PlayStation. And even though there is this article here on Game Rant, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is exactly what Xbox Game Pass needed, it kind of hurts just as much to know that it's still coming to PlayStation regardless. But yeah, it's really interesting. But also, yeah, I totally forgot that at the Game Awards 2024, yeah, The Outer Worlds 2 did say it was going to launch on PS5 day one next year. So next year the game is coming out, but also the fact that this game is developed by Obsidian and Obsidian is owned by Xbox. So Jez Corden, who is the same fellow who I've read this kind of little blurb about Project Latitude and whatever have you, says another thing here. To shed some light on the matter, reliable Microsoft insider Jez Corden, yeah, he's the one that said this, saying that the era of permanent Xbox console exclusives is over, and previous Microsoft Xbox console exclusives like Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Avowed, South of Midnight, etc. will make their way to PS5 and other competing platforms over time. This is the one, yeah. So, so Eder, some dude on Twitter says seems to be strategy they're telegraphing these days, but oddly enough, one that they don't want to explicitly come out and say. Jez says it's cause they don't want to just mandate it on teams that aren't set up for multi-platform simultaneous development, but the era of Xbox having permanent console exclusives is over. And that's interesting. That is very interesting, because again, it always will bring up the question of why would anyone ever want to buy an Xbox if there's no reason to specifically buy an Xbox. And obviously we do know that Doom, The Dark Ages, is coming to PlayStation, but this was actually a hard-fought battle between the head of id Software and the heads of Xbox Game Studios. Though in saying that, I don't think Xbox Game Studios is actually going to be able to fight back against the Microsoft CEO of all things. But I'm pretty sure that they're not happy, at least on the Xbox Game Studios side. And even more so, what's really worth mentioning is that if things keep going this way, it's only a matter of time before there isn't an Xbox. And this entire time, I've been referring to Xbox as not a separate team by itself, but an amalgamation of Microsoft. But when I talk about PlayStation, I don't talk about Sony. I talk about PlayStation acquiring studios and things like that. Unless it's the Sony parent company that actually does it. Nintendo does Nintendo, you know, like Nintendo is Nintendo and Nintendo sells Nintendos. So what can I say about that? But the differentiation between a product and the actual parent company are completely separate things. And I feel like the line has been blurred enough to the point where Microsoft is Xbox and Xbox is Microsoft, which is kind of sad and unfortunate to see. But the era of Xbox exclusives are no more. All of those Xbox doomers that have been, you know, shouting from the rooftops for the past couple of years that Xbox is doomed, well, I do believe that, yeah, it might actually be. With all that being said, though, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Do you think Microsoft is going to pull a Sega and go full third party because they are now the biggest publisher in the world, but they cannot make a console to save their life? It really does kind of make me wonder where on earth everything is kind of going. But with all that being said, I do upload every day. Wait, hold on. Yeah, like the video, like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of next year, and I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.